Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Contactlost. After a little bit break, we're forgetting about the WTC that happened in August and moving straight onto LGT. And before we do that, a massive thank you to our sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani, as well as our community of patrons and YouTube members. My guest today is Lesiu. Hello, Lesiu.
Hello, everyone.
So, how are things with you? You taking a 40k vacation after the WTC or straight back into the grind?
I'm a little bit, forced into some 40k vacation because I had some life to catch up on, as well as my kid got a little bit sick. So yeah, just life. But yeah, actually, last year I was a little bit more tired after WTC. This year, obviously, there was some fatigue, like the
Hmm.
physical fatigue, but I'm actually quite happy to play some 40k. I already had like three TTS games, so yeah,
Okay,
the meta
so
is way better than it used to be last year. So it's also probably an
yeah,
incentive
yeah,
to play.
that's what I was going to ask about. So, what changed from last year that you don't need to like take a mental break or not as long one from 40k after
Uh,
such an intensive event?
I didn't have to play Eldar last game.
That's telling for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the psychological toll was a bit higher last year. Well,
Mm,
playing for a first spot last 3 games, it was more challenging probably. But also maybe we are getting used to the event. It's hard to tell. Also, the meta is way healthier. Like I caught on few lists I really wanted to try
mm-hmm.
in like on the tabletop. So it also way more interesting if you are not burnout, but you actually find something that you would like to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're curious about some other stuff that you saw at the event.
Yeah, definitely. Like I got this little guy here that I'm fixing up for some tabletop.
It doesn't look very little, but is this an indication
That's
of
what
what
she
you're
said.
taking to to LGT by any chance? Or do you
Uh,
not want to spill any beans?
Actually, I don't mind. I'm not going there. It's not WTC. Like there will be 1,000 players and at least 100 players that are like playing for the top spots. So I don't think anyone will, uh, tailor his list just to face something else.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm actually considering demons. They are viable choice. But obviously the Space Marines are on the table as well,
Hmm.
and Grey Knights. I'm since I'm obviously flying, I prefer to take mostly my models, so
Hmm.
I limited my choices to the armies I own. So yeah, I have a lot of demons, I have a lot of space marines, and I have way too many Grey Knight models because there are like 3 boxes. So
Hmm.
over the years, I got all of them times 6 or more. So
Right. So, but we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. So the main reason you're here is because you're actually attending the LGT, and as the only actual Polish person to do that. So I was quite surprised to see on the list of attendees. What prompted you to attend such an event, especially given that singles aren't exactly the most popular in Poland?
um, hard to say. Like actually, I've been meaning to go to some UKTC event for quite some time now.
Hmm.
Basically, first time I thought about it last year before the LGT, but well, meta was way worse, and I obviously didn't play Eldar or anything like from the top bracket, and
Hmm.
um, and it was a little bit late for this to organize the trip when
Hmm.
I got the idea, and later some other events corresponded with some well, obviously in the spring it usually interferes with the WTC preparation. Like for example, Manchester, I believe, was like a week after Eurotrash for in Netherlands,
Yeah,
so
something
it's
like
hard
that.
to fit two trips abroad for a tournament.
Hmm.
But this actually my September, like late September and early October this year is pretty open. So I decided to give it a try, and it's also a very large tournament with a lot of community gathering there. Well, it's not WTC, but there will be definitely some guys from France, some guys from obviously UK. I know Liam is coming, as well as most of the Ignite team. So yeah, there will be some people to talk with, to integrate a little bit. So that's probably the main reason. But I want to see the event myself. So yeah, it's huge compared to something that we do in Poland. So yeah, why not give it a
Yeah,
try?
it's uncomparable, really, to be
Also, I have
honest.
a flight from my local airport, so Ryanair.
You don't get that too often.
Yeah.
Have to make some use of it, right?
Probably the flight will be cheaper than driving to Polish tournament. It's like less than €100 there and back.
Uh, if you fit the army into a backpack, so that kind of makes it difficult to take demons.
Actually, I already included the carry-on
The
bag.
cabin luggage thingy.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Right. So, how do you prepare for an event like that? I mean, it's singles event, so you can't really play test into specific lists, sort of. And there could be a data slate before the rules cutoff for the LGT. So, do you do any like specific preparation, at least train on the UKTC terrain layout, or is it just like what happens happens?
Okay, so regarding the list, most of the times when I attend a singles event, I try the list beforehand, like
Hmm.
few games, like maybe some TTS or some local tournament, if I have time for it. Obviously, well, sometimes you have time, sometimes you don't. Um, so that's number one. Your list need to be like at least playable. Or you
Hmm.
can just, if you don't have time for it, probably the best idea to just copy someone else's list, or like copy the list and like do few tweaks for yourself. And here I'm probably doing something similar. Like I've seen few WTC lists,
Hmm.
and I'm probably gonna copy it a little bit. Like demons, probably it's some greater demons and some corn for some punchy power, and for space marines probably some deathwing knights, and well, basically John Lennon's list, but maybe dropping eradicators. I'm not 100% sure about those.
Hmm.
Well, I have some ideas to fix the list a little bit for my own liking, but obviously I'm not doing something from grounds up. I don't have time for it, because if you want to like build the list from the scratch, you probably need at least 10 games with it, with
Hmm.
some adjustment on the way, like test one unit with the same like list and probably a similar opponent, at least the opponent, the opposing list that you know, so that's not a random thing there. And then just switching a unit by unit and then testing it out is a lot of work. You can do it for WTC, or if you are like a pro, then you can probably do it for a single event, or if you have, you know, if you are like at the university or something like that. But
Hmm.
otherwise, probably take someone else's list. You should probably take someone else's list and just try to copy it and maybe like fix it a little bit. And other than that, I don't think it's feasible to play test into some specific army list. Maybe you could try to play against some top contenders. So like at the moment, you would probably, if you're thinking about making like a top tables, you probably need to face Bringers of Flame Sisters. You probably need to face Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Thousand Suns, definitely. Even with
Hmm.
pre WTC or but technically post WTC nerf with the indirect not working with torrent. They are
Hmm.
still very potent army. So those are like main competitors. So if you maybe there are like 2 or 3 other armies that I'm not thinking about right now, but if you are thinking about making top tables, your list need to be able to face those. But other than that, I don't think there is much more. Or you should probably also check the terrain layout, especially if it's not the one that you're usually playing. So UKTC is slightly different,
Hmm.
uh, but I'm not sure I'm gonna like prepare for it that much. Maybe have a game or two on TTS. We'll see.
Okay. And in terms of like a faction choice, what do you prefer? Would you rather take something that's like the top of the meta, like the armies you just mentioned, or would you like to figure out something that's not so popular but goes well into those armies that you've just mentioned that are like the boogeymen of the current meta?
Well, that also depended on your preference and your skill, I guess, like, and your time, mostly your time. So if you want to try to find something that works against the meta, you probably need to have time to test it and to check if it's really going against the meta or if it's just going against yourself, basically, on the tabletop.
Hmm.
Because that's usually the case, especially against better opponents that can find its weaknesses. That's why maybe demons are not the best choice there. But well, they are also fun to play, so that's also a important
An
factor.
argument. Mm.
But other than that, you probably if you like just want to go, X and one, like people in the other podcasts say. So just win most of your games. Then you probably should take like meta army because
Hmm.
there is higher chance that you are just gonna have better pairings and better knowledge of the army, and the army itself will be like more stable. If you're thinking about winning the event, I reckon you probably should go with something not so popular
Hmm.
because or if you have the time to train the popular army to the ground, sure, you can win with it. Otherwise, probably your competitors will be way better trained to play against you than you are with your own army if you are playing the top meta armies. So that's also something you need to take into consideration. So it all depends on your time and what's your goal on the event and what's your own capabilities. I guess.
And what's your preference, if you have any, or does it come down to, faction availability or, well, obviously time availability, but would you rather take a strong meta pick or something that counters the strong meta picks?
That's usually my own shortcoming here because I very rarely pick the top meta armies.
Hmm.
I really prefer to play something that's a little bit of meta. Like, okay, so even if you look at my previous WTC list, Custodes, before that, Dark Angels, when everyone had Death Watch. Before that, I had 10 knights with noble combatants, and everyone was just playing big knights. Um, I mean, usually looking for something that's of meta. The issue is that when I'm going to WTC, I have enough time to probably prep for it well enough. And when I'm going for a single event, often I just end up with a list that I'm not that's not 100% ready for the event, because like
Mhm.
I mentioned, of metal list usually need some time to find like
Sh-
the final list there. But well, that's usually my preference, and but that might be as well your shortcoming there.
Okay. And have you had a chance to familiarize yourself with the missions that are played at the OGT?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Or did you take a
I
look at
mean,
any of the UKTC missions or not compare
I
them to?
believe they are the missions themselves are like similar to what we usually play. Like
Mm,
the most you can get, like it's the mix of the mission and the setup and the special role. There's not much you can get outside of the typical primary missions that are in the Para Nexus deck. But to be honest, I haven't checked like mm, the mission like layout for this tournament yet. But it's planned somewhere in like next week or two.
oh, you still have a month to get the
Well, 3 weeks
correct.
basically, but
Okay, okay. Like I'm trying to give you more time. um, right. So, do you have any like personal goals for the event, where you want to end up, or do you have a plane ticket already sorted for a Sunday afternoon and you don't really care about playing more than 5 rounds?
no, I'm only top three. That's
Only
the
top three.
goal.
Okay.
Nah, I'm joking.
So
Like
you want to get
I'm
in
very
16 games over
yeah,
4 days.
definitely. No, I'm very realistic about the tournament itself. It's a singles
Mm,
event. You not First of all, there will be a lot of very skilled players there. Like I mentioned, most of Team Ignite, a lot of people from Team England, from Team France, Belgium, like probably most of the Western Europe
mhm.
players gonna Western around England, but because
Yeah.
maybe not Spain, but you know the part that around England probably is gonna be there. So the playing field, like I reckon that if there are like 1,000 players more or less playing on the event, like 100, at least like 100 of them, it's gonna be like a top tier players. So getting getting like into the top cut is gonna be extremely hard.
Mhm.
So as in every single event, you need to also have a little bit of luck there, like in the pairings, on the tabletop, on your dice. So even if you are prepared and have proper army and have proper skill, it's still very random to make a top cut. But I would like to make a, like I don't know, probably like one loss and or maybe two. Like
Mhm.
definitely not with definitely with like on the top tables. So yeah, that's my personal goal to like make a decent score there. But my plane
Decent
ticket
shot.
is on Monday
In the morning or in the evening?
in the afternoon. I
Ah,
haven't been in London for quite some time, so I can go sightseeing.
yeah, and you can still play the round of 16 or a round of 8 in the morning on Monday if it all goes well. Right, and yeah, you've mentioned all that. So the randomness, you can just get paired into something that you can't really play into, especially given the amount of people there. You can also get paired into a top tier player really early on, just because it happens with random pairing. So how do you where do you find the motivation again to play singles events like this? I mean, you've mentioned you're going to this one specifically because of the community, etc. But there's a lot more to it. You could just make the trip as a spectator and not buy the ticket, right, for the event.
Well, uh, yeah, like
Sort of.
you can tell this about every event, even like going, to Warsaw or whatever.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
there's always
for us
the
in
this
Poland,
argument, but
cost difference, right? To go
Sure,
to an event
but
locally and to travel internationally.
um, I would like to see that event myself and playing there. That
Mhm.
the cost is not like, it's not that good, that big of a deal. Like
Oh, it's
if
not
you are
massive.
already flying there, sure, why not? And I reckon I can probably compete there. Like, why not? I
Sure.
don't think they're like, okay, am I as good as Liam or I don't know, like Vic or some guys there? Probably not. But can I like play with them? Definitely.
Mhm.
So I believe I can compete, and it is what it is. It's a single event. I don't have my hopes up for like a top spot. Um, I will have some fun, meet some people, see the UKTC with my own eyes, and see how it goes. It was probably similar with Atlanta last year. Like I tried my best. Well, yeah, I tried my best, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, and did your participation in the Atlanta event, was that some kind of a motivator is not the right word here, but did that like give off a vibe to attend more singles events or like travel internationally just for, you know, sake of participation? Or it didn't
Definitely,
really play a role?
definitely that played a role. I like so all in all in last few years, definitely after COVID, after 2022 WTC, we saw a big rise in international events and in international community.
Mm-hmm.
And year after year and month after month, we are traveling more for the events. Even if we compare like this year WTC preparation and last year, like this year, there was a team at Eurotrash, Alpine. Uh, what else was there? There were two Pyra events that were basically international. First one had
Mm-hmm.
USA team, and there are like plenty of singles events that are more and more international. Like the events that were previously just for the people from the country are often mm, advertised online for people from abroad. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe that tournament travel is becoming a thing here. So that definitely had an impact. And myself, I just started with those team events, but I've been to Atlanta and I had very similar vibes from the event, mostly because of the community and from the people some of them I already knew, some of them I met there. Mm, so yeah, you can meet new people, you can see new places, you can play at different terrains, different scenarios, different. I don't know how to basically describe it, but the whole feel of the games are, well, I don't want to say completely different, but the games have a different vibe there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also something that's for me personally it's interesting. Maybe because I've been playing in Poland for way too long, and it's getting a little bit. I don't want to say boring because the events are not
Mm-hmm.
boring, definitely, but this is sometimes gets a little bit stale, especially if you like attend few events like month after month or even like weeks after weeks because they are often like 2 3 weeks apart,
Yeah, and the
and this is like something
community's
completely different.
it's the community here isn't that big, right? So at the end of after some time you end up just playing the same people over and over again. So attending an event somewhere else is just refreshing, right?
Yeah, definitely, but I wouldn't like complain about playing the same people. Those are really great
I
players in
know, but
Poland. The issue is like the feel of the games itself is like way different. we also never play, barely ever play that win or lose, which is also something um, completely different. The feel of the game is like, especially at the few last turns, it's definitely more exciting if the game, especially if the game is close, because
Hmm.
like losing 9-11 in WTC scoring or winning 11-9 or 10-10 is basically, except maybe last round, is basically the same for your score,
Hmm.
for your final score, if you only count the points from the 20-0 scoring. But for win draw lose, like 1 point difference makes, like your whole
All the
tournament
difference.
run.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what's your feeling towards that then? Because, like you've mentioned, yeah, we don't play that here. So how are you feeling about that? I mean, we've spent years playing differential scoring here in Poland. So, what's your take on the win draw lose system? Because again, that's something that's not necessarily, well, not popular, obviously, but also people have hated on it really around here. So, is it really that bad in your opinion?
Well, both of those have their pros and cons. Like few years ago, I was definitely against win or lose because it. I had a feeling that it didn't reflect the games, the board state properly. But recently, um, maybe because the missions are very much um, pushed towards this scoring type, and they are more drawish, and
Hmm.
maybe because the meta is more stable now, and most armies can face most armies, and the scores themselves, like, because of those two reasons, the scores themselves are way closer.
Hmm.
The win draw lose is more reasonable recently. That's my feeling, and I was, like I said, mostly against it, but after playing it a few times, I see its pros definitely. Like I said, it also has cons, and there's like sometimes you have games where you, like, after 10-2 you already know you've lost, and there's like not much you can do in the win or lose scoring, and in differential you still can, like, bring some points, and those games, like in differential, they are like just going on, and in win or lose you basically give up, at least mentally. Mm,
Hmm.
and sometimes, often, like, you get slightly unlucky in some part of the game, and that will give you that will lose you a game, and you know tough life. But like I said, it also can be very exciting if the game is close, and it also gives you, like, I don't know how to maybe describe it, but okay. So if you are playing the medium tier army, you are
Hmm.
not going for 20 O's that usually, unless your opponent makes some serious mistakes, or he is like beginner or something like that. So if you are playing a mid tier army, it's really hard to score high in differentials,
Hmm.
and as a result, it's often really hard to get to top 5, top 3. Depends on, like, how big is the playing field, etc. But usually need at least 2 or 3 high differential scores to get
Hmm.
there. And at the same time, in win draw lose, if you are, like, keeping the scores close and you are just winning slightly, you can actually make the top cut. And now, when the playing field is way more even, it's definitely a pro here. That's
Hmm.
And like I mentioned, I'm not big on playing top meta armies, so that's definitely something for better for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of perspective, but even objectively speaking, having more factions, being able to compete for the top spot for wins, that's something that's very welcome. So does that influence your faction pick? Like, would you going to an event here in Poland that's usually using differential scoring, so the 11-9s don't really work for you, and then going there where an 11-9 is all that you need. Does that impact your faction choice as well? Are you looking at different factions for those reasons? Or again,
Mm,
not necessarily because the playing field is quite level at the moment?
Well, if you wanna win a single event in differential scoring, it's usually you need an army that can push the score. So, like last few events in the spring, I was playing Grey Knights because this was one of the armies that was potentially on the table for WTC,
Hmm.
as well as obviously Space Marines. Mm, and Grey Knights are not great at pushing differentials. So I ended up doing some 11-9s, and it was really hard to push the top bracket there.
Hmm.
Mm, so if I wanted to win those events, I would definitely have to pick different factions. Mm, Now, okay, still, if I wanted to win the event in Poland in differential scoring, I would probably have to take Space Marines, not Grey Knights. That's the reality. Okay, you
Hmm.
could probably try to do it with Grey Knights because still not losing a game is important, but it's probably harder. Mm, in win draw lose, as long as you can keep the honest score there, I think the faction is viable. Oh, but still, top meta picks because of the reason. So
Hmm. All right. So I've mentioned, and this is like based on absolutely nothing, that there might be a data slate around the corner. How are you feeling about such a potential situation happening before rules cutoff of such an event, and also about the potential changes it could bring to the game itself, which, and I think that you agree, is in quite a healthy state right now.
um, so usual okay. I'm usually very much for playing the most recent rule set to the point that I'm very much for pushing cutoffs if the rules are not like changed dramatically that people won't have an army to play.
Mm.
For UKTC events, as far as I know, the cutoffs are like holy. There's not a chance for any change there. Well, because it's a business and they have their policies and
And for an 800 player event, I don't think you can really do that.
yeah, probably you shouldn't. So, and I think cutoff is like 2 weeks before the event, so
Mm.
in like a week and a half time, something like that. So it's I don't think it's very likely that they will have a data slate before it. I mean, it might be before the event, but probably not for before the cutoff. If it's there, I'm fine with it. Like I said, I prefer playing recent rules.
Hmm.
Mm, and I still have some factions on the table, and that's also a factor why I'm not like 100% sold on Space Marines, because if there is a data slate, there will probably be some nerfs to Dark Angels and Blood Angels will get their points because of the new book maybe. So
Hmm.
there might not be nerfs, or there might be some. Depends how GW will get along with the release schedule, because that book is only coming out in the limited box. So hard to say how it's gonna work out now. But I believe there will be some nerfs if we are playing current Blood Angels. Mm. And I feel pretty confident demons won't be nerfed. So that's always there in like a plan B.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Would be
if
rough
you
if
are like
demons get
preparing
nerfed.
very hardly for the event and there would be a data slate just like 2.5 weeks before it,
Hmm.
then man, you are screwed.
But if you're not taking it that seriously, or that's probably the wrong word, but if you're not preparing that much, that hard for it, then you should be okay. All right, Lesiu, thanks very much for joining in, and well, best of luck at the event.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks guys for listening in. If you like what we do, subscribe, hit likes, etc., etc. And thank you to our sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani, as well as our community of patrons and YouTube members. This is the first in a series of a Road to LGT kind of hashtag, and there will be more coming in shortly going into the event. And we'll obviously, as Contact Lost, will be there to report on stuff and share some short interviews during the event. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. But for now, bye bye.
Bye.